Well, it is December. Wow. As this year winds down, I keep noticing how easy it is to rush towards what's next without ever pausing to ask what's still asking to be heard. December has a way of doing that, doesn't it? As this year starts to close, conversations turn towards resolutions and plans and fresh starts. And yet, so many of us are quietly carrying things we haven't had time or space to acknowledge this year. If you're feeling a little tired, a little reflective, or a little full right now, I want you to know that you are not alone. Today's episode of The Creative Connection is about connecting to what is important to you right now. Welcome. I am Cyndi Thompson, your host, and I work towards helping people lean into what matters most so that you can create a life that you are passionate about living. Today's episode is entitled, What Are You Carrying into the New Year? It's an opportunity for you to pause, reflect, and to consider where you are right now and where you might be headed. You know, if you are a fan of Facebook or even YouTube or maybe even TikTok or Instagram, you are probably familiar with Sam Demma. I recently reheard this educator and young speaker use an image that really has stayed with me. He talks about how every person we meet is carrying a backpack that we can't see. And inside that backpack are experiences, memories, disappointments, hopes, responsibilities, things that have shaped people in ways we might not fully understand. And maybe you are one of those people that the world around you has no idea what you are carrying in your backpack. I love this image because it invites compassion. Compassion for others, for people we know, people we don't know, and it invites compassion for ourselves. It reminds us that what we see on the outside is only a small part, a fraction of the true full story. If this is not your first time to the Creative Connection, perhaps you were here last week when my husband and I shared what we called the holiday backpack, but not a way to hold on to things that we don't feel fully engaged with, or maybe they're heavies and burdensome. The holiday backpack was a way to create a backpack of support for yourself through this fullness of the season. And to be honest with you, I first heard of this probably 2012, 2013. And it was from a pastor at my church about what is the backpack that you want to be carrying with us. And because this time of year can weigh our backpacks down with all the extra things we carry, like family dynamics, unspoken grief, old expectations and stories, and the pressure to be joyful when that's not where we are, or the desire to hold it, hold it and everything together. The idea behind the holiday backpack was never about pretending that those things aren't there, but it was about becoming intentional intentional about noticing what we're carrying and choosing to carry what actually supports us. If you haven't downloaded the holiday backpack checklist yet, it is still available, and I will have it in today's show notes as well as last week's. Support doesn't expire just because the calendar turns. And in fact, that's why I want to move this from being just the holiday backpack to your own personal backpack, your life journey backpack, a backpack of support. If you think about a hiker and you think about a mountain climber, they're only going to carry up the mountain or down the path the things that they need to support their life: food, water, a bedroll, dry, clean socks, layers of clothes. Hold that image. So when I think about this idea of a personal a life journey backpack, I think about a metaphor of the backpack that the person climbing out Mount Everest might have. But instead of the survival tools, it's more about two gentle questions that I want to carry in my daily backpack. The first one is, what am I choosing to carry with me? And the other question is the opposite of that. And what am I ready to take out of my backpack? We often move through life, and I am as guilty as the next, of adding things to our backpacks without realizing that we've added it. Old stories of who we're supposed to be. Guilt we've been carrying for years. Loss and grief that we haven't looked in the mirror at. And that loss and grief can either be of lost beings that have left us here and what feels like alone, or it can be loss of expectations that are no longer fitting our life, the life we're living right now. What is it that you are carrying in your backpack that you haven't realized? Take a moment to reflect on that. As you do, think about the things that you might be willing to take out, because we need to make room for the things that might support us in life. What if we stacked our backpacks with things that actually nourish us? And I'm not talking about nourish in the sense of food. I'm talking about the things that we may not be paying attention to on a day in, day out basis. The first one is our breath. Are we remembering to take full, deep breaths and to oxygenate our entire body? How about boundaries? When was the last time you said no to something that you really didn't want to do because you thought you had to say yes? What if we put in our backpacks the reminder to take many deep breaths throughout the day? And that no is a full sentence, and it is okay to say no. Here is one that for years, as the mother of three boys who were all born 21 and 24 months apart, rest. Acknowledging the days and the moments in the day that we are tired and to say, I need to take a rest. Here is one that we are quick to pass out to others, but not as much for ourselves. And that is loving kindness. Be kind to yourself. And going hand in hand with loving kindness is self-compassion. Give yourself the same grace that you give others. And this one, for years, I didn't truly understand why this needed to be in my backpack. But it does. Honesty. And I don't mean the difference between telling the truth or telling a lie, but I mean being honest with what we are experiencing in the now. And when someone asks you, how are you today? And if you are not okay, say, I'm hanging in there. And when they say, can I help with anything? Take one of those deep breaths and allow yourself to be vulnerable. You never know what might come of it. You might be given the thing that you need most in that moment. So these are the things that may be good to add, and there may be others that you can think of, but what if we allowed ourselves to gently remove the things that no longer serve us and to use that word honest to acknowledge that this is not serving us anymore? Now, mind you, it is not an all or nothing. And it is not I have to do this all right now. Please don't do it all at once. And don't force it. But take time to consider intentionally what are the things in your life that are no longer serving us. I made a statement recently to a group that I work as a volunteer in community with. And there is a new person in this group that doesn't know me very well. And we were talking about a project that we need to work on in the coming year. And I made the statement, every once in a while, I just quit everything that I'm doing and take a break and allow others to step up or fill in the space or the gap. And I realized that when I said that, I said it very casually and matter of fact. But that is one of the ways I allow myself to gently remove the things that are no longer serving me. I step away from something. I check in with myself. And if it's something that has to be done, another person will step into the role. So if you are challenged by things in community, either as a volunteer or as an employee, and you're not sure if you can say, this is no longer serving me anymore. I do have a personal example from work that I will share with you. When I was in my 20s, so some 40 years ago, I had just graduated with my bachelor's and I had wanted to work in organizational psychology in training and directing. And I was working for a chain of department stores in the Midwest. And my husband was attending graduate school, so we were there because we had to be there. And it was not a town that was very large, and there were not a lot of choices for me to get a job, but this seemed right. I was hired as a manager trainee, and then I was promoted to a department manager, and then I was promoted to an area manager. And then some of the things that I was doing to increase my customer service ratings and increase my sales in my area took notice in the corporate office. and the president, it was a small family owned company, came to visit me to find out what I was doing. And then I was informed that they were thinking about creating a position within the company that would help all of the stores do some of the things that I had been doing. And would I be interested in that? 26, young, wanting to make a difference in the place and space that I was working in. Of course, I said yes. So I went through the interviewing process, and yes, I got the job. But what it meant is that I would have to live 195 miles away from my husband, and we had only been married for 2 years, for 4 or 5 days a week, and then I could come back on the weekends until we launched a program or wanted to open a new store or any of those other things. And after a year and a half of creating the program and launching the program and helping to open a new store, it was beginning to weigh pretty heavily on me, this separation from my husband. I didn't quite know how to tell that to my boss. But I must have been sending signals out that this wasn't serving me anymore, because my boss said to me, "Hey, we're thinking about creating another position in a store, and would you like to take this on in your old store?" I said yes. But it was the ability to walk away from the thing that I thought I wanted and I thought was serving me, because it wasn't serving me anymore. And interestingly enough, the universe opened and created something for me that would serve me for the rest of the time that we were there. So I just want you to hold that picture in your mind as you think about the things that are no longer serving you. This is where presence, personal presence, becomes powerful. Allowing ourselves to take a breath and to consider what's serving, what could serve me better, what do I need in my backpack to help nourish and support me. Taking that pause and that time and to be present with yourself. Presence is not about calm all the time. It is about being willing to stay with yourself long enough to listen to what your heart, your spirit, the divine is calling, is whispering to you. So often we rush forward because slowing down feels uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable because we begin to feel things that perhaps the story in your head says we're not supposed to. What's uncomfortable is often what is asking to be heard. It is my belief that your body knows, your breath knows, your heart, your soul, and your inner voice begin to whisper to you. And we must be quiet in order to hear it. And if we run and keep running and keep running and keep running, and we don't listen to our inner voice, that whispering of our soul, it doesn't disappear. Instead, it just waits, sometimes patiently, until we need to be awakened. And then it screams at us. This is what happened to me when I had my experience in New York City in 2016 in Central Park, where I could not walk. It was my body telling me I needed to stop doing the things that I had been doing, and to honor with truth what My inner knowing, my heart, my soul, and the divine around me knew what I was supposed to be doing. So perhaps you have had a health crisis of sorts and you're not quite over it or through it. Maybe it is something trying to tell you something, but it starts with being quiet and still. So I'd like to offer you a short presence practice that you can take away from here today to learn to listen to what might be trying to surface. So if you are able, I'd like you to take a brief pause. You don't need to change anything or do this perfectly. And in fact, I have found myself sometimes standing in the middle of my kitchen, preparing a meal for my family and doing this exercise. So I simply want you to bring your attention to your body. If you are able to put your feet on the floor, do so. You can do this sitting, standing, down, in the car, in the kitchen, in the living room. And put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. And take a slow breath in and a gentle breath out. And another. Continue breathing at a slow, gentle rate. And inwardly, with curiosity, ask yourself, what am I carrying right now? And gently ask, still curious, ask, what might I be ready to take out of my backpack? Remember, there is no right answer, there is no judgment, there is no perfection. But just notice what, if anything, arises. What am I carrying right now? And what am I ready to take out of my backpack? This kind of listening is a form of respect. It is a form of loving kindness. It is a form of self compassion. And it's how we begin to honor ourself and what really matters to us, an alignment of what we believe we're supposed to do versus what we are drawn to do. As we gently bring our awareness back to this time and space, and as the year winds down, maybe the question isn't what you want to add to your life, but what are you ready to take out of your backpack before you keep walking? This is about clarity, and clarity doesn't come from doing more. Sometimes clarity comes from setting something down. In the coming days, I'll be sharing more about this presence practice of listening and remember what's already with you. not as a resolution to shift and change into something new that quite often we put down even just 14 days later and give up. But rather, maybe we need to find a return to something we thought we did not have time for, or that doesn't fit us anymore because someone else told us that. I'll be offering a space at the end of December where we can explore this together. It is a space to pause, a space to listen, a space to reconnect with what I like to call your inner magic and voice. It is not something you create, but something that's already there, waiting to be acknowledged. For now, be gentle with yourself. Notice what you're carrying as each of the days that lead us through Hanukkah, up through Kwanzaa, through to Christmas. Notice what you're carrying and trust that you're allowed to choose differently as you move forward. If the idea of a backpack, journey of life backpack feels supportive, I have a checklist of items that you might find helpful on this journey. And there is a link in the show notes for this week and last week's when I was with my husband. Before we close, I want you to know about that space I shared about earlier. Every year for the last 20, a colleague of mine, Jessica Hadari, has done a feminine frequency festival. A festival where healers and light callers gather and share wisdom. It is on a Facebook platform. It is 100% free. It begins on the solstice and goes through New Year's. And on Saturday, December 27th at 10 a.m., I will be offering my Awaken Your Inner Magic, a brief embodied experience designed to help you pause and reconnect with yourself before you step into the new year. You will find the link in the show notes, along with the information about the festival's larger annual gathering, which you are welcome to stop in at any point in time or go back and listen to what's been shared. I am also sending a year-end newsletter soon, offering a space for reflection and integration. And if you'd like to receive it and are not on my email community, there is a link in the show notes as well. Wherever you are in this season of life or on the calendar, may you honor what you've carried and what you're ready to sit down. I wish you the ability to listen kindly to what is calling you and what is waiting for you. As I end my meditation and mindfulness sessions, I say namaste. I wish you much blessing as we near the end of 2025.